The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium. Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is the Wednesday week, and like Cliff Richard, I have been defrosted for Christmas. So with me tonight, I have the ever-present Stevie Spence, the ever-present John Russell, and then special guest, Joe Crann.
Good evening.
Hey.
We're in, mate. You all right? Long time no see.
Right. Yeah, 10-game unbeaten run. Can't complain about that, can we?
Well, we can't.
We'll get to that bit. So I've only just finished work. So Stevie has done an agenda, darling.
You guys got posh since I last came on here.
You are?
You guys got posh since I last came on here. Didn't know we were doing agendas.
Oh, we do. We just normally do it off WhatsApp at the last minute. But yeah. Stevie's actually, like, for those watching on video, Stevie's done like a full list with like bullets and everything. Yes. So very exciting.
Well, I tell you, where do you think I was when I did that?
In the bath.
100% in the bath.
Of course you were. Joe, have we spoken to you on the podcast since you got wedded?
No, you haven't. It's yeah.
Oh, well,
quite a big life change, isn't
it?
Thanks very much.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Next thing's to get in the same continent. You know, baby
steps. Oh yeah, because God, that is ages then. Because we've even been to tramline since then.
Yeah. To be honest, I'd not being funny. I think we might have been to tramlines twice since our last game.
Well, Alex is normally more available. Do you know what I mean? He's not.
Yeah, that went out the window. He's got married and had a kid. That's long gone.
That's long gone now as well. Yeah. So, all right, we're going to go straight in. Let's go straight for El Clasico. Obviously, the World Cup final was all well and good, but we had Oxford at home.
What more could you ask for?
What more could you ask for? Like, honestly, who needs to see a Messi and Mbappe masterclass when you could be playing Oxford at home? So Dawson was in net over Stockdale. Now, Joe, you've probably got some insight into why this happened.
I really don't. I really don't. Like, honestly, I spoke to Darren about it afterwards, and I kind of said to him what was going on, what was it, the reasoning behind it. I even said to him, is it down to performance from David Stockdale? He said he thought the time was right, which, I think the Stockdale Dawson thing is interesting because Darren said at the start of the season that, it was both of their positions to win or to lose. But I think it said quite a lot in it by managers with goalkeepers. But it did feel sort of quite genuine with Darren. Obviously Cammy had a great season last time out with Exeter. Stockdale won Golden Glove last season with Wickham. So they're two keepers who've they've got some pedigree, and it did feel like there was a little bit of a, probably more so than I've seen all season after the goal at Exeter. There was a little bit of fans going, is it time to give Cameron Dawson a chance? Whether Darren saw that, he kind of hinted to me it was more down to the way that they expected Oxford to play than the actual the two goalkeepers. But it worked out. And I think the interesting one now is whether he leaves him in. I think it would be incredibly harsh to take him out, that's for sure.
Do you think it was strange? I mean, I've got my own opinions. We'll all have our own opinions, and there'll be people on socials, in the stands, wherever, that are going to have formulated an opinion based on what they think of Stockdale. But for all the derision that you'll find, reality is we haven't conceded a great deal, a great number of goals, and he's kept a lot of clean sheets. So I know the Exeter, the goal wasn't, it wasn't ideal in terms of concession, but he's done all right in the grand scheme of things. Stockdale's done okay.
No, he's done well.
I for one was very surprised at if you're going to make a change, making the goalkeeper change at that point, I thought was very, very surprising. Obviously, it's worked out with the benefit of hindsight. But I found it very, very interesting that he's decided to put Stockdale in, and obviously he's gone to that, and he's clearly told Stockdale sort of Monday, Tuesday in the week. I think he said, Auntie, that they've known all week that they're going to.
Yeah, that's the important thing as well. I think with this is that the way a lot of people were reacting, it was almost like they thought, he'd just taken Cammy and stuck it to one side on a Friday and go, oh, by the way, lads, we're changing it tomorrow. It was planned. It was always part of the game plan for that game. And yeah, I think for me the thing that David Stockdale's brought to Wednesday more than his actual goalkeeping ability is he's brought a steadiness. Because he's such an old hand. Because he's done so much in the game and been around for so long. It's almost like just his mere presence brings something extra for Wednesday. I think that they look a lot more solid as a team than they did with Bailey Peacock Farrell as the final man between the sticks. Anyway, but that being said, there's obviously elements of Cammy's game that he will have over David Stockdale. He's younger. He's going to have more, bounce, athleticism, all that kind of stuff. So there's all those kind of things to take into account. And I think the really nice thing to come out of it was the way that you saw David Stockdale after the game. Literally, the minute the final whistle went, he was off, straight off into the goalkeeper areas. And they are very, very close, speaking to Cam after the game. And he said, they're just two very straightforward people, and they get on very, very well. And I think the other nice thing with Cam, I was talking to him about sort of coming back and how difficult it had been, playing a 51 game season to come in and all of a sudden being, bench warmer again. And what I think the most interesting thing he said to me was that he felt he does feel like he's come back like a better goalkeeper, sort of, in terms of his maturity. But the main thing he said, he felt like he's come back a better person, and that he's now more aware, he's more rounded, he's more mature as a human being, which has allowed him to deal with these sort of setbacks, and which has allowed him to, not get so up with the ups and down with the downs, as Darren likes to put it sometimes. And yeah, it was just really, really nice to see him save that penalty. Look, he was good in the game anyway, and I think he would have come out of it with a lot of credit, regardless of the penalty save. But it was just the icing on the cake for him, and I'm sure after, his last game in front of fans was in a league game was Brentford away. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we
don't talk about that on here. We don't talk about that.
Like Wolves away, we just don't talk about it. No, it's interesting though, isn't it? It's almost like, at work when you get like a mentor, it's almost like they've brought Stockdale in. Like, he's coming to the end of his career. I know a guy I work with has said a few times, like, he's been there, he's done that. He wants to kind of hand it over to the next person. And it's almost like Stockdale's kind of mentoring Dawson. Yeah. And it's almost like a double recruitment, isn't it? Because you've got, not only have you got, is Weaver still there as goalkeeping coach, I assume?
It's Adriano Basso is the goalkeeper coach.
Is Weaver still there, though?
He's part of the youth setup now.
So he's part of the club still. So you've still got an ex, a pro who Dawson watched growing up, but also to bring somebody in who, like you said, is Golden Glove. And I think he's on for Golden Glove this season already, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got more clean sheets than I think anybody else in the Football League. So
yeah, he's not doing bad, but also you're getting that double sort of win in that he's going to guide Dawson and kind of mould him, hopefully, into our next number one.
Yeah, and I think he is genuinely chuffed for him as well.
Yeah.
You sort of speaking to Stocky earlier in the season. He one of the big things he said was, if he's not playing, he wants to be there to help. And I think that that Cam has grown with him. He'll have grown a lot last season. We didn't see any of that because we obviously weren't there to see that, that 50 game season that he had. But just looking at the other day, he just looks a lot more confident. He looks like a goalkeeper
who's grown up, hasn't he? It's a weird thing. Yeah. Like, I've said this for years now, as Stevie will testify, but goalkeepers tend to come into their own around a certain age when they fill out and they grow up a bit and they just get that. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can get the odd really good teenage goalkeeper that's incredible, but I do think that it's one of those positions that you've got to grow into. And it looks like that season away. And obviously, not only away from the club, but away from home, away like the other end of the country. Like, I know that's not a far distance for you, Joe, in comparison to where your wife is.
No, Exeter is still far, man. Like, I've done that trip and I've done Plymouth this season. I don't fancy doing that again. Thank you very much.
It's a long way, and it's not like you can just pop home at the weekend and go and see your mum or go and see your mates. You know, he's got to go away and grow up, hasn't he? So anyway, let's go a bit more negative because, you know, it was a shit game.
Yeah, I forget I can swear on here.
Yeah, I know. Molly's here, but she's used to it with me. It's fine. So obviously all of your bullet points here, Stevie, all kind of fit into one. There were too many bad performances, John, weren't there, on Saturday? There were too many that just, obviously, we're going to come on to the missing piece of the puzzle, so to speak. But as far as it went for the other 10 men on the pitch and not Dawson, it was a pretty bad turnout, wasn't it?
Yeah, we didn't really seem to get going, did we? And one thing that was pretty evident quite early on is the absolute miss of Barry Bannon, wasn't it? I mean, he's just our talisman, isn't he? So when he's not playing, you feel it, because we've felt it in games before, and when he's come off the bench as a sub for the last 5, 10, 15 minutes, and he's instantly made an impact. You can see that, you know, how much he's worth to the team. And when he wasn't playing on Saturday, we just didn't have that same control in the midfield. And looking at their chances, I think we were very lucky to get a point, weren't we? When you look at the overall balance of the game, especially with them getting a penalty right at the death. And Dawson has got a good penalty record. I think he's saved something like 8 out of 14. His last 14.
Yeah, I think it's 8 out of 18 or something like that.
It's 18.
It's really impressive.
Which is a really good ratio for a keeper.
He
wasn't the greatest of penalties, but he went the right way, didn't he? And that's what counts. So
it was interesting with the penalty, because you could see the way that he moved. Sorry, John. I was just going to say that the way he sort of he faked to one side, and then he took a massive step forward, but he obviously made sure he left his left foot on the line, so he fills out the goal so much. So, like you say, it wasn't a great penalty, but I think part of that is the mind games and the timing of what Cam Dawson did as well.
Yeah, he's obviously been watching Emiliano Martinez from the World Cup and getting players' heads and stuff.
He will have watched him as a kid at Hillsborough, won't he? I mean, so he's learnt from the best, literally. Molly, you know the keeper that played in the World Cup final? Did you know that he used to play for Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, all right then. All right.
She's reading the Star.co.uk.
Get your pop-up blockers off.
Although I think he was known as Damien Martinez back then, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Weirdly, just because when I was looking for stuff, it was all Damien Martinez. Like there was not even a mention of Emiliano.
I mean, you would change your name, wouldn't you? To be honest. Let's talk about. I don't like to drag him down, and I promised him that I wouldn't go on about this for too long, Stevie. But he had a very poor game, didn't he, my boy?
Well. Yeah, he needs to go back upstairs, I think, to be honest with you. You need to have some stern words, to be honest with you. I don't know. The Windass is becoming a bit of a conundrum, to be honest with you. And I know it's on his day, there's no doubting that he is as good as any player in the league. Certainly, you know, the players that are going to play that position when he's at it and he's proper at it. But I don't know if he's got a niggle. I don't know if it's just a confidence thing at the moment. I think the striking thing for me was, if you can go back to the back end of last season and even the start of this season, he didn't want to be subbed. He didn't want to be dragged. He didn't want to come off. He wanted to play 90 minutes week in, week out. He came off on an hour on Saturday and had no complaints whatsoever.
No, he did. I noticed that. Yeah, just went and sat down.
Normally his body language. Yeah, normally his body language will be one of a shoulder shrug, or you know, there'll be words between him and either Smith or Moore. He literally walked down. I don't know. It just feels at the minute like there's something not quite right there. And I've said on previous podcasts, and I'll get I'll get slated for it. I wonder if we've got too many people that we think are capable or deserving of being in that starting 11. And I've said previously, I'm not sure that you can play Smith and Windass and Gregory all in the same starting 11. I just wonder if we feel a little bit top heavy, if that makes sense, when we do that. So I think 2 from 3 out of those 3 is the go-to. But at the minute, it just feels like things aren't quite right. You know, in that top line, we're creating a hell of a lot of chances. We created more chances than they did on Saturday. You know, we had more shots on goal, but we only got 2 on target, and that's a problem.
I don't think we're creating as many chances as we were, though. That's one of the main sort of issues for me, is that you look back earlier in the season and they were creating loads and loads of like genuine chances and missing chances, whereas now it feels like they're missing 1 or 2 good chances, but they're just not creating nearly enough. You know,
yeah, you do it on a percentage, don't you? Like if you get 10 good chances, you expect to put 3 of them away. If you're only getting 3,
it just feels like they're just in a bit of a funk, really. You know, there was one move. I think it was Palmer cut it back, and then both Gregory and Pato dummied it, and it was lovely. Like it was such a well-worked move. And you know, I think a Josh Windass who scored 4 in his last 5, you know, he puts that away. I think it was a great block. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it wasn't a glaring miss or anything like that. I just feel like that Wednesday's strikers at the moment are just in a position where it's getting a little bit, you know, it feels like it's getting a bit on top of them. And I don't see it as an excuse, but I don't think the constant hammer that they're all getting is helping either.
I was literally just going to say the same thing. Do you think they wear it heavy, don't they? I think we've got players that are wearing it heavy because we're just getting constant derision. You know,
I mean,
not good enough, and you know, we need to be better. And I worry about that, and I've been very vocal about the fact that I think that, you know, that we put untold pressure or unnecessary pressure on our team, our players, our manager, the club. On, you know, when they step over that line, they're stepping over that line and they're representing 22,000 fans on a regular basis. And it's a heavy cross to bear.
And it's in game and it's out of game as well. You know, in game you can feel it after about 20 minutes. You know, if Wednesday aren't winning in the first 20 minutes, that you are at home, especially, you find, I don't know what you guys feel like up in the grandstand. You kind of feel like even so early in games, it's starting to get a little bit tetchy. And obviously after the game, I mean, again, I'm not saying that they don't deserve criticism. I'm not saying that they're not in a position that, you know, they should be doing better in. But, you know, I mean, we've just drawn 0-0 with Oxford, 1-1 with Oxford. No, 0-0.
No. I didn't miss that. I missed the penalty. I didn't miss that.
We just drawn 0-0 with Oxford, who are on their own sort of 10-game unbeaten run now. And we've got people like tagging players and stuff after the game and saying how bad they were. And it just doesn't sit right with me. I don't think it really serves any purpose either.
We've said it so many times on here, though, that social media, I mean, it's just the devil, isn't it? Like, Stevie gets so much now. Like, Joe, me and you have both had our own little wobbles with it all. And I think that's part of our bond. But yeah, it's a case that, you know, you would not go up. If you saw Josh Windass in Meadowhall, Fudge hates this analogy. Like, I'm not going to go tackle him. But, like, you would not go up to him and go, you were rubbish today. You were bloody rubbish. Like, but you feel like if you're behind a keyboard or behind your iPhone, you can just do that. And, you know, we forget that these people are just, all right, they're overpaid, they're underworked, they're, you know, they should be doing better than what they are, but they're still just a bloke at the end of the day.
I also I don't know. I have this thing with you know, footballers' wages and stuff. Are they overpaid? They're paid what the market pays. You know, like it's
they're paid less than what the market pays at Hillsborough.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like they are paid what is in line with their industry, and it's not their fault that that's where they're at. You know,
exactly.
That's just the nature of the beast of this industry. And yeah, I'm sure all of them will look at the last few weeks and go, this is not good enough. We should have done better there. We should have done better here. But I also think that there's got to be a little bit more leeway with it all.
Is this a good time to just drop? I had a quick look because obviously we are where we are in the league. We always talk about the form guide. I don't know if anybody else has actually had a look at the form table at the minute and seen where we are. If I were to tell you that Barnsley are top with 15 points, we're second in the form league. So we're talking about the fact that we've not won in 3. We've dropped 6 points from 9, we're still second in the form league in the entire league.
Yeah.
There's only looking at it now. There's only Cheltenham that have conceded less goals than us. You know, we're talking about how good Plymouth have been and how good Ipswich have been, and you know, Bolton. They've all conceded 8 goals. You know,
Stevie, what you are forgetting, right? And everyone forgets this on a Saturday afternoon. But what you need to remember is that we used to be in the Premier League, and we've got a right big stadium. And you know, David Hurst and Chris Waddle played for us. So therefore, League One, we should be walking it. And that's the attitude that, but we've all said it before, we're all guilty of it.
Biggest budget in League One, world-class budget, League One team, blah, blah, blah.
We've said it for years. And I said last year when Forest went up, that for me was like a huge relief, because for so long, us and Forest have been neck and neck with, we used to be famous, we've got a right big ground. Oh, we're better than our rivals. And actually now they have gone up and done it. So maybe it is possible. Don't you think
it's difficult though? Like, you know, because I do think there's an element of you've got to accept where you are, but you don't want to accept it for what it is, if that makes sense. I think there's a level of going, right, this is the situation we find ourselves in. We're in League One. We are here for a reason. You know, we didn't end up here by mistake. The players that we've got didn't end up here by mistake. This is the situation. You speak to anybody, they're all aiming for higher. So you've got to find that middle ground of accepting the current situation, but not accepting that it's good enough, if you know what I mean. Like, because once you accept that, it's a problem. Once you go, we're a League One club and that's it, then you stay a League One club and you make no progress.
We're a League One club that's been down there a couple of years and is trying to get back into the second division. That's it, isn't it? And it is the case that we do think back, and you know, I'm not too bad down here. I'm fairly neutral because I work down here a lot. But we've all got the pictures up of, you know, Bright scoring at Wembley and Waddle, and that picture behind Stevie now, and it's just, you know, we do still think about those days, and we don't associate those days and that, or maybe we do too much, associate those days and those glory days of being the Sheffield Wednesday with a Sheffield Wednesday that is, you know, struggling without Barry Bannon, who, don't get me wrong, I love Barry Bannon, best player for me in pretty much my adult life. But we're now looking at a team that when we don't have Barry Bannon, who is the best player in this league and probably one of the best in the league above, and could probably do a job at some point in the Premier League, when we've not got him, we struggle. But at the same time, we're going, but we're Sheffield Wednesday. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
One of the things as well is if you think about when it'll be different decades for each one of you, but like I still think of like the 90s as being not that long ago, but it is. You think back, I've got stronger memories of Wednesday, not just because they were good, but I don't know if it's because I was a lot younger, but I still think of 90s as being not that long ago, and you can still remember the cup finals, you know, going there, like when Wembley being like a second home, as they were calling it back then. And you think it's not that long ago, but it's ages ago, isn't it? It's absolutely ages ago. And we've fallen so far since then. And obviously, we came out of the Premier League when there were no parachute payments. I think it was the last season before.
That happened,
and they came in the season after, typical of our luck. Yeah. And then we just been on a steady decline, haven't we?
We can look at other clubs, and like I said, Forest were always quite a good example. Derby maybe as well, although I'd rather not link us with them. Leeds as well. You know, there are clubs that have kind of fallen, and we kind of look at each other and go, oh, one day we'll get back there. And like Leeds and Forest are. But there are also, you know, I've seen us beat Man United at home. I've seen us batter like Spurs. Christ, we absolutely turned Spurs over a few times. And it's a different world. So on that note, Mr. Darren Moore, the nicest man in football. We'll not go into what's been going around on Twitter today because I just cannot be arsed with that debate. But do we expect too much from him?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because I think that he expects the same from himself. You know, like, you know, I think there's probably an overzealous criticism a lot of the time. For me, I think there's a lot of it is too much. You know, I think it gets a little bit over the top for no reason. But But I don't think the expectations are too much because, like I say, I think that if you said to Darren Moore, what do you expect from this season? It's top 2 minimum. You know, that's so. I think any fan who's looking at that and going, we should be top 2, Darren will turn around and say, yeah, we should. So I don't think the expectation is the problem. I think it's the fact that we're prepared to. Some people are prepared to shoot everything down and throw the baby out with the bathwater at, you know, halfway through a season when we're 3rd. That's what is a little bit baffling to me.
And we're not 3rd with a massive gap like we have been before. You know, the times that we've got into the playoffs, it's almost looked too far away, hasn't it? And we've gone, oh, playoffs have been mint. Like, I'd love a trip to Wembley. I'll book my travel lodge and all that. But actually, we're 3 points off?
I want nothing less than a trip. Nothing to do with a trip to Wembley this season.
No, absolutely not. Cannot be bothered. Don't like London. Spend far too much time there. Can't be bothered.
I think Joe's hit the nail on the head there with every argument that I have to have if I'm going to have an opinion on social media is that because I suppose I'm pro Moore. I'm a Mooring guy at the moment. Make no mistakes about it, and I'll say this, and I'm not ashamed about this. Darren Moore needs to get us out of this league this year. I can't see him being the manager at Sheffield Wednesday next year if we don't go up. But as it stands at the moment, on the 20th of December, when we are 3, 4, whatever points, we're 4 points off top of the league. As it stood on Saturday, we could have gone top. And the thing that gets under my skin and the thing that I can't get on board with is people going, style of football's not right, or are you happy with this, or do you think his team selection were right, or do you think this were right, or that were right? Is with due respect to Darren Moore, and as I've said, I like the guy. He's managing a club in League One because that's his not his level at the moment. That's where he is at the moment, and hopefully he will have aspirations to get us out of the league and go and kick on. But he's not Pep. He's not Klopp. He's not. You know, he's with due respect, he's not Eddie Howe. He's not that. He's not managing in those sort of circles at the moment. I think just anecdotally, I think there's a significant. The gap isn't as big as people would make when it comes to coaching between that top level and the level that people are at the moment further down the league. But for me, I think he's doing a perfectly admirable job. Bearing in mind the 3-4 years we've had previous, there are a lot of people that are very quick to forget the dark days of Jos Lukai and the dark days of Gary Monk, and you know the issues with the point deduction and the transfer embargoes. And
I was going to say, it's not just on the field stuff, is it, with Darren? It feels like he's played around so much more.
He's come in and the ship has been steadied. And all right, we're not top of the league, and all right, we've dropped points, and he's made some strange decisions at times, and people will go back and point at the Plymouth game and they'll talk about that, or they'll say he makes substitutions too late. And you know, we sit in the stand for a reason, and he sits in that dugout for a reason, because he knows what he's doing better than I do. When I stand in front of 30 kids and say, right, we're going to do badminton today, I'm doing a better job than Darren Moore. When Joe sits down and starts typing,
I'd love to see Darren Moore tell me to play badminton. I'm okay, Darren.
You know what I mean? When Joe sits down and goes, right, I'm going to do an article on this many 100 words that I've got to fill for this article here, he's doing a better job than Darren Moore can do. You know, Vic, when you do your job, you're better. John, when you do your
job,
don't know
why I do.
I don't. You might as well
when you do your job.
I know you've moved.
The
point is, we're all, as we said, to the keyboard warrior point, we're all experts for that moment, aren't we? We all see things. We all agree, disagree. I've said tonight, I don't think he can play Windass, Gregory and Smith. He could probably turn around and tell me a very articulate reason as to, the reasons why we can and the reasons that he chooses what he does. And then I'll sit there and go, all right, that's right. Whereas everybody else that are getting after him will go, yeah, but it's not right because we should be top at league because we've got this massive budget. And to the point we've just been talking about, we're Sheffield Wednesday, and once upon a time we were in we went to Wembley 4 times in 3 years. We are where we are,
yeah.
And the majority of the issues that we've had they come before Darren Moore. I think he's done an excellent job off the pitch, steadying it and getting things down. I will not have at any point any allocation of blame laid at his door for the relegation. Absolutely not.
No, God no. The reason he was brought in was because we were getting relegated, and he knows how to get out of this league.
Yeah,
he also nearly died.
Yeah. But he did well to get us to that point at the end of that season. And Vic was always about this at the time. He had a load of health conditions as well. He had COVID, pneumonia, job lot going on, and people seem to forget that he was doing lots from, he was doing it all at a distance.
His hospital bed, bless him.
Yeah. Am I happy with everything that's going on? No. Am I a realist? Yeah. So if we are still in the conversation for top 2 in February, March time, then fine, no problem at all. If we get to that running of 8-10 games where we're still looking at potentially being in and around it begrudgingly, and I know we've said nothing else at top 2's acceptable, if we have to settle for the playoffs and we do get to Wembley and go up, I don't want it, but if we're in championship on September whatever it is, or August whatever it is, 2023, then we're all going to take it, aren't we?
Well, yeah. I think before we wrap up on Darren Moore, I just want to say as well, like, having, worked in football, and obviously Joe will know this as well, like, the lower down the league you are, the more you need a Darren Moore manager, because you are doing the job that if you were in the Premier League, you would have 10, 15 staff underneath you doing, as in the man management, the coaching, the sort of being the listening ear. There are so many different parts that if you're in the EPL, you've got 10x players, 10x Premier League players, 10x Championship players who are all doing that mentoring role that we said about with Stockdale. But actually, it's literally Darren Moore and probably a team of 10. It's not Darren Moore with 10 people underneath him.
Yeah, I will say, in terms of Darren's team and stuff, the chairman has backed him to the hilt with the guys he's got around him. He's probably got a sort of technical team that would be the envy of the majority of League One, to be honest.
Don't say that on the pod, because that's another stick to beat us with.
Yeah. No, but like generally, like he's got a really good group of people around him, and you can see, like, last season, for instance, I know the goals have dried up a little bit now, but it was all the talk of the amount of goals he were conceding, the amount of late goals he were conceding. A lot of that has dried up now. A lot of it stopped. They've got a ton of clean sheets already. I think it's 12 now after the one that Cam Dawson got the other day. I mean, 12 clean sheets in what, 23 games, is it? 22. I mean, that's a crazy record for a team that everyone was saying how bad they were defensively at the start of the season, and they were getting absolutely hammered for not fixing the sloppy goals that they were giving away. And yet we've got all these clean sheets now. And yeah, again, like, the goals have stopped at the other end, and that is worrying. But they're not losing games the way they were, and I think that comes down to, to coin a Moorism, it's the work on a training ground. That's what it doesn't happen out of nowhere. Like, this is all down to work that they do, and they've done it with a load of injuries as well. Ben Enigan's gone, Michael Ekwa's gone. They've had to shuffle things around. Liam Palmer was arguably Wednesday's best player in the first, quarter of the season. Had to be shifted to centre back rather than right wing back. It's not been perfect, but they're getting there. They're there or thereabouts. And yeah, I think that there is an element of with Darren's team and with the squad he's put together, they should be top 2, and he'll know they should be top 2. But that's top 2 at the end of the season, not necessarily top 2 now.
I want to go champions. I'll take top 2. I won't take.
I've never seen us win anything. So it'd be great, that.
Yeah. I think the problem you've got.
I forget how young you are.
Yeah. For me, I think it boils down to maybe not over expectation, but the expectations of fans now is, if you win, it's expected. So if you win these games, everybody's happy, everybody's having a pint and everything. If you lose, it's Darren Moore's fault. And that's just modern day now, isn't it? It's just, there's no rhyme or reason for it. It's just like, right, if you lose, it's got to be Darren Moore's fault. He shouldn't have took this guy off. He didn't do his subs till later on. Cost is still some things he can improve. And I think Darren Moore would admit that as well. I think that's, knowing his best side at times has been a bit of a challenge. I think sometimes knowing the best formation has also been a challenge as well. You've seen it change intermittently, even during games, which is something not a lot of us have seen before.
It's like he's playing Championship manager.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he's still a young manager as well, isn't he? It's only like he's, I don't know, maybe 4th or 5th year in management, isn't it? So he's still a guy who's probably only just right side of 50 as well. So he's still a young and up and coming manager, as Vic said earlier as well. So he's kind of learning as he's going along too, and he's getting that support like Joe mentioned with the chairman allowing him to bring backroom staff in as well. I think I can't remember the guy's name he brought in last time, but he was really over the moon to get him, wasn't he? He was like, said he'd make a real difference to us.
Jimmy Shan, the guy just brought in.
That's the one, yeah, Jimmy Shan. Yeah, he was absolutely delighted to bring that guy in. So, and he mentioned how that freed him up to maybe focus more on the man management stuff and let his backroom staff focus on the individual sort of training regimes for those players. And like you say, if you look at what Joe was saying, if you look at the results in terms of like game management and seeing games out to get a point or to get a win, you can see that has improved from last season, definitely.
Guys, I'm just going to have to go and get the dog because she's having an argument outside with Milo down the road.
No problem.
But I'm going to leave you to talk about Ihekwe, Hennigan, Banners, Bayern, Adeniran.
To say.
No way. Whoa, I can't remember how you say that. But we're talking injuries, so bear with me 1 second. You guys just talk. I can hear you.
I think.
Yeah, injuries. Yeah.
It was when I put it together. I think the reason that I included this was the fact that we seem to have been going into that sort of pitfall of what we had last year, where there's some players that have dropped out, and obviously as they've gone one by one, that's impacted on performance levels. And we've talked about how well we started the season, and we've had Hennigan in there. All right, it was probably at the other end of the pitch, but we've lost Hennigan, Ihekwe, Famewo. What combination that would have looked like, I don't think any one of us will know, in the grand scheme of things. But since then, we've had Adeniran out. Things haven't been right in the middle of the park without Byers, have they? So just a little bit of a nod in terms of the injuries that we've had to persevere with, and the fact that's potentially impacted on or coincided with the downturn of results and performances that we've had.
I don't think you can look at, especially obviously we've only missed Bannon for one game, so it's not like a long injury layoff that he's had, but I don't think it can be seen as any coincidence that Wednesday's form picked up last season when George Byers was in the side, and that it's dropped off a little bit this season when he isn't. I think he offers so much to the team. I think he gives a freedom to Barry Bannon that helps. I think that he's very good at a lot of things. He's not a one-dimensional centre midfielder. He can tackle, he can shoot, he can pass. He's got a really nice little bit of bite to him, which I didn't know he had when he joined the club. And yeah, Wednesday are a better team with him in it. You talk about the centre backs there. I mean, when Darren started the season with 5 centre backs, and you're thinking that should be enough, shouldn't it? That should be fine. And yet here we are, and we've got Reece James playing as a centre back. We've got Liam
I love Reece James.
Reece James has been great.
Reece James does not get enough credit for what he does. Like we always talk about Byers and Bannon, and we talk about all these other players, but for me, Reece James has been outstanding, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's Mark McGuinness for me. I feel like I've finished with words. I feel like in the press box, people must just be like, "All right, mate, give it a rest now."
That clearance off the line, though, the other day, the block, that was outstanding. It was,
but it's his overall game with me, McGuinness. I have no qualms in saying it. He will be a Premier League footballer. I have absolutely no doubt about it, because the little things, I think I mentioned it on Twitter, the little things like the way that he heads the ball clear. It's not just heading the ball clear.
It's going somewhere.
Yeah, everything has got a thought process behind it. Whether it's a pass out, whether he's bringing it down rather than clearing it, whether he's doing a cushioned head or whatever. Mark McGuinness is huge for Wednesday this season, and I think that he would have been big anyway, but with the injuries that have come along, he's become vital.
We've been a bit negative tonight, and rightly so, because we've had to talk about the Oxford game. But actually, there are some real positives from this season, aren't there? When you look at, we're coming up to Christmas. I'm going off agenda. Let's talk. So, like, when you look at your Mark McGuinness, when you look at your Byers, your Bannon, obviously, I'm going to say it in a second, but we'll talk about Reece James first. But then, obviously, Stevie and Molly. Your boy Liam, he's doing so well, isn't he? And that is lovely. I saw Liam Palmer today, Joe Crann, exclusive.
Did you?
Leaving the main stadium via the South Stand, looking very happy with himself.
Oh, lovely.
So who knows if that's a new deal or whatever, but
possibly.
If there's any press around it, he'd got a jumper on with something there. So I don't know, but yeah.
Probably just filming another Christmas video.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Probably just picking up his crackers or something, wouldn't it?
It's got the twin.
Oh, you are?
Still me.
Yeah, it's still a.
Oh, threw me then. I was like, what do you mean the other one?
No, his other video.
Oh, his other video. Oh, I thought you meant it's the other twin. I was like, it's definitely Molly. Like, I've not cracked up here. Like, I've known her like since she was a baby. So let's go to a mid-season review on that positive point. Obviously, we've talked about it. We're happy with where we are. You know, we're not doing badly. We're not doing great. Would you have taken this in August? One word answer, John.
Reluctantly, yeah. I know that sounds a bit weird being third, but I thought top two with that squad, and I still think it should be top two, but we're only halfway in. So if I was to grade it, I'd probably say B.
Okay. Joe Crann?
You guys?
12-word answer. I mean,
I think I wouldn't have taken it, but I'm content with it. I think is the best sort of way of putting it for me.
Stevie Spence?
Yeah, I'd agree with Joe. I think there's a lot of mitigating circumstances. The substitution at Plymouth was a big bollock. Sorry, Molly. That was a big mistake. You can't mitigate for what I still to this day don't believe it was a red card against Peterborough, and that cost us because we were well on top in that game. That's potentially what 3, 4. That's 6 points there.
That is by the way that is 2 of the 3 games we've lost this season. You know.
Yeah.
I know.
I'll stand and have a conversation with anybody that wants to talk about, you know, how poor we've been and this, that, and the other. The only game where we've been absolutely trounced were Barnsley at home, and they absolutely did a number on us. And fair play, they came, they steamrolled us.
But that's a derby as well, isn't it? Derbies are a completely different kettle of fish.
You know, and they seem to be the team, and I think I put on in our group, our WhatsApp group, I think the team that I worry about at the moment is Barnsley. I don't worry about Ipswich, and I don't worry about Plymouth. The momentum seems to be with Barnsley at the minute, and historically you'll find a team will kick on and make a push for promotion. People are looking in the way of Derby. People are potentially looking at Peterborough again. Barnsley have very quietly gone about their business in terms of the national sort of press and the national sort of viewpoints of what's going on in League One, and they've won 5 on the bounce, and you know they're catching us up. I do worry about Barnsley because they're doing it quietly, but they're doing it really, really well. But original point, we wanted top 2 by this point in the season. With the circumstances we've had to go into, I think third's all right.
Sound, brilliant.
What about you, Vic?
No, I agree. I'm trying to be. I was very negative on Saturday. I was bloody freezing, which doesn't help. And do you know what? That isn't the first game. So about a month ago, I went to a match on a Saturday afternoon. I did exactly the same thing. I came home like 10 minutes early, and I had to stand under the hot shower just to defrost my bones. Like everything was frozen. And I can't wear gloves. Like I've got autism. I don't do the feeling of gloves. So my hands were frozen and blue. And then I came home, got under the shower, and then I went out Saturday night, and it was mild. I'm like, what?
I went to Exeter, came back sick, and I've not got better.
Oh.
Just so, it was so cold at Exeter. It was horrible.
Have you done a Lati flow?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. It's not COVID. No, I'm just coughing up. That same bug that everybody in England's got at the minute.
Yeah. I think it's just our immune systems are shot to shit, aren't they, basically? And anything we can catch, we're catching.
Also, Exeter is really cold. It's the main takeaway from this.
It's a lot closer to the equator than Sheffield. Like
there's like a big breeze. There's a big breeze that comes through it that's unpleasant. It's going to be horrible at Fleetwood as well on Boxing Day. So I'm really hoping that they can give us a nice little delayed Christmas present there, because the last thing I want is to have people hammering me on Boxing Day for not asking the tough questions when I've just froze to death at Fleetwood and I just want to go out and have a beer.
Exactly. Okay, so what's been your high point so far this season, Stevie? We're coming up to Christmas. Let's be happy. Be a happy chappy. Come on, smile.
I think, do you know what? I've put it on there. I've not really thought about it. I think on reflection, I thought the day itself and the performance away at Bolton. I thought Bolton away was decent, to be honest. It was one of those. It was one of the first potential banana skins that we could have gone in without taking the mess. You know, it were a big day for old LP too. He scored, captain. Bannon's gesture. We've kept a clean sheet. We've had the shithousing of Stockdale in goal. Iorfa momentarily looked like he was the Iorfa of the past. McGuinness's first game. If you go back, lots of boxes were ticked against Bolton. It was just a steady afternoon, wasn't it? The atmosphere was good in the away end. I thought that was a day where we got in the car after the match and thought, do you know what? We might be all right this season.
Yeah, I think mine was League Cup away at Southampton. I thought we gave a really good account of ourselves against Premier League team. We didn't rest that many players. I played some really good football that night, and took them all the way to penalties. And it was a performance that I thought, this is what we need to bring into the league. If we bring this into the league consistently, we'll definitely get top two. So if we can get back to those levels, I mean, that gave me like a first sort of like insight into what we could be like. And I thought it was a really good performance. That was my high point.
Joe, what about you?
I think fun-wise, Forest Green Rovers at home.
That was nice, Nobby.
Yeah, well, Stevie's took mine, so I had to pick another one. Now you're last, and that's your fault. But no, like I think, say from a fun perspective, Forest Green, just because it was just like steamroller, you know, it was just, and because it was so early in the season, there was that old, this could be it. So yeah, that was fun. But I do agree with Stevie. For me, in terms of genuine highlights, as someone who, you know, obviously we get to speak to the players and stuff like that. Like I was genuinely so happy for Liam on his 350th appearance to get that goal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was perfect. It was perfect. The yellow kit looked great. The fans were great that day. The Bolton trip was ace. It was just a really nice game. And yeah, I think in terms of moments, Liam Palmer scoring in that game was probably the highlight for me.
Yeah, I think I would go with the Forest Green game. Just because, like you said, it's nice. And I know it's shit on their behalf. It really is shit to be that team that gets battered. But it's nice to do some battering sometimes. And I think, was it like before like 60 minutes we were at 5-0?
Yeah, it was game over early doors.
Yeah, it was very...
We're 4-0 at half time.
Which is great for the match reports, by the way. More of those, please.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And obviously, you know, there were people on the score sheet, you know, we got from all over the place. It was just a genuinely good game, and I enjoyed that. And it almost, in a way, it's almost bittersweet, because I think that set me up for thinking what I thought League One was going to be like this season. And then actually people have played against us properly. But I mean, Forest Green, you know, as far as clubs go, they're a club that I would always want to do well. They do things the right way, and they're a great community club. But yeah, for me, that was probably my highlight, and probably will be for till next season now, because we ain't going to get another one of them, are we?
I think we will, you know. I think we will. Come in.
Do you?
I think I said it on our podcast with the Star earlier.
All right.
I think this is. So, no, I'm wary of repeating myself.
Well, if you don't listen to this, Joe, don't worry.
I think this is our blip. I do think we'll lose more games, don't get me wrong, but I think in terms of performance-wise, over a period of time, I think this could be our little blip. And if this is our blip when we as bad as it gets is, one goal in 3 games and we don't lose. I'll take that all day long. But I do think that it's only a matter of time. There has to be a game. I don't think it's going to come away from home because I think that, Darren's too pragmatic for that. He doesn't really tend to open up away from home too much, which I get. But I do think there's going to be a home game soon that someone gets it.
So let me have a look at the fixtures. Let's have a think who this might be. So we have got
Port Vale. We've got Port Vale coming up, haven't we?
Will you just wait a minute? I'm on a laptop, right? I can't see you now. I'm trying to balance, Stevie. Right. So I'm going to go through them, and I just want you to say your name when you think it's that one. Right. We've got Fleetwood away, Boxing Day. Port Vale at home. Yeah,
we'll do it.
Cambridge at home.
Cambridge. That could be the one for me. Yeah.
Newcastle at that's Emirates.
That's the one. Newcastle. Stick Newcastle.
Wickham away. Fleetwood at home again. Bloody hell, that's close, isn't it? Cheltenham. Now we battered Cheltenham before, didn't we? Then we've got Barnsley away, Plymouth at home, Ipswich away.
Those 3 games are massive, by the way.
Yeah, that's a big ones, isn't it? Even the fixtures are laughing at us. Ha 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 ha.
I don't buy into the you need to beat the top teams in order to do well, because I don't think you do. I generally don't think you do.
It's bottom teams you need to beat. Normally.
Yeah, if you don't get results against the top 6, but you beat everybody else underneath it, you'll be fine. But what I will say is, because of just the way those games have lined up, I mean, Barnsley, Plymouth, Ipswich in a row, that is potentially season changing. That it's a big ask, but if you can get 9 points there, you're absolutely smiling.
How can people not like football? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you get in the bin.
It's mad, isn't it? Like, I only like football, boxing, and snooker, and snooker's boring as fuck. But like, how can you not like football when it's
the jeopardy for me? Just, I mean, anyone that I know this is a Wednesday podcast, but I dare anybody who's interested in any kind of competitiveness in their life to watch that World Cup final the other day and not be enthralled by it.
Well, I mean, I fell asleep at 2-0, so I'm probably not your target audience there. I woke up and I was like, bloody hell, it's extra time.
I think some stories just need the ending that everybody wants it to have, and that's what we got with Messi. And I mean, if he doesn't win that, to be the greatest player never to win a World Cup, it would have been tragic. So I think most fans wanted, even some French fans wanted him to win, didn't they? They were saying,
because they've got that luxury of it being 4 years ago. Imagine how nice that must be when you could be like, nah, it's fine, we don't need this.
They've already won one.
We've done it recently, it's fine. Yeah. Well, on behalf of, I would imagine, most women everywhere, I fucking love the fact that Messi has trumped Ronaldo, because nobody likes a rapist. Moving on to the Christmas gestures at Hillsborough, alleged rapist.
I'm glad you did that.
So there's been a lot of community stuff going on at Hillsborough at the moment, and it has been like the story that came out today, my little heart, with the hot lunch for people who need it coming up. I think it's the 22nd, isn't it? It's this Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, so provided by the community program, who we've done a lot of fundraising for before. Like, I think a lot of people assume that the club just funds that program, but they do rely on fundraising as well. I'm going to say something controversial, and I don't mean it to be, but I hope people don't take the piss, is all I want to say. Like, they've put it out there that it's for people who cannot afford and want a hot meal and want to go to the club, and it's not something I'll be booking on to, put it that way. Like, but I think it's absolutely incredible that we've done that. And I don't think, Joe Crann, that the club has got enough credit for what they've done there.
Don't worry. I have actually got an article going up on it tomorrow.
Oh, good. Okay. And I think that's national press worthy. I think that's so good, but it needs to go to the right people. Like, I think it's this time of year at the moment that we all, everybody's struggling. Doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what you do, like, I've not got the heating on. I'm fucking freezing. But we're all in a different boat, and I just hope that the people that go on Thursday either go and enjoy it and donate some money, or go and enjoy a hot meal at this time of year that, you know, people aren't getting them.
Yeah, I think the nice thing with this one for me is that it's one of those situations where if they didn't do it, nobody would think bad of them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the sort of thing that they are going above and beyond, because there are certain stuff, you know, that football clubs are just expected to do, and this isn't one of them. And the fact that they're doing it is really great.
Absolutely. And I think it'll just make, I know around here, like obviously I'm in Hillsborough, and on my road alone, there are probably, that I know personally, probably 5-6 nurses. You know, you've got paramedics, there's a guy over the road who works in a library. There are people who are really struggling and doing a job that deserves a lot more. And so if it goes to the local community and people go and have a nice Christmas lunch, that's amazing. And I hope that the players turn up and everyone has a lovely day. Steve, I don't know what these other ones are, babe. Oh, Blue and White Christmas Day. I know what that is because I used to do that. That's where they all go around different charities, isn't it?
Yeah,
wasn't that when Mark McGuinness was like amazing at curling with no eyesight?
There was the curling, and then was there some sort of shuffleboard or air hockey, blindfold air hocky? Or
right, he was amazing at it.
Doesn't his brother play like bowls for England?
Bowls.
Yes,
yeah.
he does,
yeah. I just, for me, the fact that we're able to do stuff like that, I think, is absolutely phenomenal. And I think the club have put an article up today and said that it's the first they've done in a couple of years with the COVID restrictions and what have you, and to see the families and the people that they've managed to engage with. And I know that there was a conversation with or a couple of articles with Will Volks and Bluebell Wood earlier in the season, and that's one of the charities that they've hit 6 yesterday. That they've either partnered up with or are supporting. I think
it's a real spectrum of players as well, isn't it? Like there's a lot of players who've got
absolutely. They split them all into 6 groups and gone, right, you're going to go there, you're going to go there, and I you know, for people to be able to experience, you know, people that are in unfortunate circumstances for other reasons potentially than, you know, the cost of living crisis, to be able to get that support from a club, I think is, again, it's testament to the work that the club has done in terms of engaging and getting involved with the community. And I think that from a community point of view, I think it's absolutely fantastic, and we should all be looking at doing things like that, and, you know, pulling each other up, I think, is really, really important. But from a, you know, to take it back to its base level, for the club to be able to offer what they're offering at the minute, I think is absolutely brilliant.
I went through to Meadowhall yesterday to speak to Akin and Will. They were doing the Bluebell Wood stuff there.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I was waiting for him to, because there was a queue outside with like little kids waiting to get the shirt signed and stuff like that. And there was one point when obviously I'm waiting because I wanted to wait until they finished before I did my interviews. And there's a little girl in the yellow shirt. She walked around the corner and her eyes just like lit up as soon as she saw the 2 players. And I'm just grinning like an idiot. And we've been there, haven't we? You know, we've all been there. We've all been that kid looking at these players.
I'm still that kid. I saw Liam Palmer today. I text Stevie straight away.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really nice for him to do it. And speaking to both Akin and Will afterwards, you know, that they're obviously both very passionate about it. I mean, Will especially, because he's been working with Bluebell Wood for a long, long time. But, you know, Akin was talking to me about how it was, you know, reminiscent for him, looking back at his, you know, youth when he sees these kids, not just in that kind of scenario, but at the stadium as well. You know, he sees these kids and he thinks back to when he was in the grounds looking up to players and stuff like that. And yeah, just it does feel like this is just a really nice group of lads at Wednesday this season. And I think that is a reflection of the manager as well, because I think when you're a nice manager, you sign nice players, and, you know, there is
same in any office environment. I don't know who signed Alex Miller for you. It's awful, but
I will accept no Alex Miller slander in this podcast.
Oh, we love Alex. But no, I know what you mean. And like when I worked at the club, part of my job was to go around and do these sort of charity visits with players. And I took Jermaine Johnson to a jungle gym. I took Mark Beavers to a homeless shelter. Like, I did the stuff like you wouldn't believe that they had to go to. And they are contracted to do a lot of it. But I must admit, the Christmas one, nobody ever crossed that off the contract. That was just done. It was just, and to be fair, when I was there, it was the Children's Hospital Partnership, and that was the same. Like, nobody ever said, oh, this is part of my community duties. Like, it is something that back then they enjoyed doing. I'm sure now they do. I'm sure with a captain like Barry Bannon that, you know, they wouldn't dare put this down as their community time. And even it's nice. Was Bannon out and about today? I didn't see him on anything.
I'm not sure. I'm just
going to say, even though the little things that make a big difference, aren't they? And even though they're footballers in League One, they're still living privileged lives at the side of a lot of us, aren't they? So it's nice to see them go out and do something like that, and it does make a big difference and keeps that family feel of the club going, which is brilliant, really. Yeah,
I was talking to Darren about the other day actually, and Darren was saying that when these players come, he sits them down and he tells them, he says to them, "This is part of your job. You know, this is part and parcel of your role within this football club. It's not just, you're not coming here as a footballer, you're coming here to be part of this community." And Darren takes it very, very seriously, and you can see that with the way that he goes about the stuff that he does, and you know the time that he takes for people. I mean, it's a nightmare trying to get him after games because you know we're waiting to do press, and he's taking pictures with every kid, speaking to everybody. He's got time for everybody, and like I say, I do think that filters down.
Do you know what? Like, he's not much older than me, but I'd like to meet Darren Moore. I'd be so excited.
Honestly, he's a lovely bloke.
I bet he is. I know everyone thinks I met Carlos. I've never met Carlos. I will state that again. The people of Twitter, I've never met him. But I would love to meet Darren Moore. I'd like to take him for a coffee, or a hot chocolate. I feel like he'd have a hot chocolate. The other stuff, Stevie, that you have written down is coping with Christmas and this emoji, and then man with a pram. What's that?
Yeah, one of us. It was just a little nod. It wasn't anything we needed to specifically sort of highlight, but you
should put it on the agenda then, should you? Like, I'm following your rules.
I'm being serious now. Sure.
Sorry.
If you follow us on Twitter. You probably do if you're listening to this. We put a couple of bits out. The whole coping with Christmas. It's everything that we've talked about is it's that time of year where people are potentially finding things a little bit hard, difficult. In terms of any sort of mental health struggles. I just thought it was nice or it'd be a nice thing to just sort of highlight the fact that there are organisations that are out there that you can potentially get in touch with, and if you're on our Twitter, we've retweeted a couple of bits just around that. I think Mind is one of them. Young Minds is one of them. I didn't look. Sorry, forgive me. I didn't look at absolutely every organisation that was included on that screen grab, but they're there.
Just to share them. So Mind is 0300 123 3393. Or you can use the text service, which is Shout. So you text the word Shout to 85258. Samaritans is 116123. Young Minds is you text Y for Young, M for Minds to 85258. Calm, which is the Campaign Against Living Miserably, is 0800 585858. And Papyrus, which is the Under 35s mental health line, is 0800 061 4141.
Yeah, with due respect, I'm guessing it were either Ash or Fudge that's tweeted it off our handle. I've got friends and acquaintances that have been affected by a lot of men recently that have struggled with their mental health, and sadly, there are people here now or people that have been affected that have got colleagues and friends that aren't here now because they didn't reach out. And, certainly at this time of the year, with everything that's been going on over the last year, 18 months, I think it's really, really important that people spread that word. And, we can understand that you don't have to be alone. And it's so easy for us to sit here and go, it's just a case of picking up the phone, because nobody's living in those people's heads at the end of the day. But ultimately, if we can raise the profile as not an organisation, but a group of people that can spread the word a little bit. I think that's our good deed for this Christmas. And I just hope that if there's anybody that's struggling out there and that is listening to this nonsense, that they find an avenue to be able to pick up the phone or, you know, get in touch with somebody and just have a chat. I've got a mate who gets in touch with me every now and again when things aren't going so well, and you know, whether it be a pint or you know, just a coffee or whatever it is, we get together and we shoot the shit. And I know it helps me absolutely no end. So hopefully that other people that are in a similar sort of situation know that they can find somebody that would do the same for them.
Lovely stuff. Thanks, Stevie. What about the man with the pram?
It's John. He's no. He's doing his annual Christmas Day walk, isn't he, from Chesterfield Hospital to Northern General. I've
not been online this week apart from for work, so I have no idea. Sorry.
As I was looking at the stuff tonight, again, it was something that I think we've seen that has been shared, and obviously he's outside the entrance to the South Cop, just on Penistone Road, isn't he? And he does a lot of charitable work. Has done the Great North a few times, many times. This Christmas, he's doing his annual walk from Chesterfield Hospital to Northern General, and has shared his links. Hopefully, I think we've already shared them on our socials. If we can just raise a profile of that as well.
I think if you just Google John the man with the pram, Macmillan.
Yeah. Or look at our Twitter; it's on there as well. He's got a Just Donate page that I think is, again, I just wanted to sort of tip a hat to that.
Oh, right. Before we go, we've left you waiting long enough. Everyone always kicks off when we miss this bit out, so we're keeping it in, and I've done it this week. It's time for our Christmas quiz. Sorry, Joe. I know you want to put your chicken Kievs in. You just have to bear with us a little bit longer.
You know, I was being quizzed. I'm going to make a fool of myself.
Oh, I wouldn't worry. I don't know how we do it.
I don't deal well under pressure.
Oh, I don't want teams, do I? Bloody hell. And I'm going to have to share my entire screen, so we just have to see what happens there.
Go for it. Oh.
Right, what can you see? Can you see my screen?
It's Christmas quiz. Oh, I need to let the Christmas quiz in. Add to stream.
Oh.
Ooh.
I can't see myself now, so can you still see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Marvellous. Okay, so what I have done is, as per usual, I have gone through the Sheffield Wednesday Club Mega Store. Make of that what you will. And I have got some gifts, and I would like you to tell me what you think their prices are. Okay, so can we see this?
Yeah.
So this is a Sheffield Wednesday Christmas stocking. For those listening through the audio medium, it is a stocking with a badge sewn on, a few snowflakes, and it's made of kind of a blue velour. How much do you think this is worth? Joe, I'll come to you first. How much do you think, well, not how much do you think it's worth, because we've all got our own opinions. How much do you think the club shop is selling this Christmas stocking for?
I think 12
and I can confirm this is a normal size Christmas stocking.
12 English pounds.
12 English pounds. John?
I'm going to go for, even though it looks like a Leon Clark cast, I'm going to go for $7.99.
John, get with it. Stevie?
I'm going bigger. I'm going $13.99.
Oh, okay, I can confirm that it is £14.
That is impressive, that, Stevie.
The Sheffield Wednesday Christmas. Me and Stevie have done this for years. For the Sheffield Wednesday Christmas stocking. Okay. I'm then going to show you some fucking awful men's memory foam slipper, singular. So you might only get one. I don't know. So again, for those listening through an audio medium, you're looking at kind of a waffle material. Black outer layer with a blue fluffy interior layer with a gold Sheffield Wednesday badge on the side. Slip-on slippers. They're not kind of full foot slippers.
Grandad.
Joe, I'll come to you.
I'm going 20 quid.
£20. John?
I will go for $24.99.
$24.99. Stevie? Memory foam.
22.
Okay, they are 30 English pounds. Okay, so these are the exact descriptions from the Sheffield Wednesday website. So an SWFC dippy egg board. So again, for those through an audio medium, this is a
dippy egg board
about the size of a slice of toast with two sort of, sorry, my rabbits are shouting in the background, with two sort of hollowed out egg holders and a Sheffield Wednesday badge. I mean, it's great. It's not dishwasher safe, so I'll just put that out there. How much, Joe, do you think this is worth?
£14.99.
Okay, John?
I'm going to go closer to £20. £19.99.
£19.99. Stevie?
£12.
Okay, this is 25 English pounds. Oh, they come better. There's better ones yet. Don't worry. Right. Okay. Oh, this is my favourite one. So this is a Sheffield Wednesday multicoloured light box. So I've got another explanation of this on the next slide, but just to kind of give you an idea, it's a little brown piece of plastic that looks like wood, and it has a plastic bit stuck in it that's the Wednesday badge, and it plugs into a USB port, and you don't get a plug with it, you just get the wire. And just to give you some context on the next slide, for those of you on a visual medium, I bought this for my godson recently. It's exactly the same, if not better, as it has a remote. And it's a dinosaur 3D light thing. It looks quite cool in his bedroom. He likes it. That was £14. What are Sheffield Wednesday charging for the SWFC multicoloured light box? Joe Crann.
I'm in 35.
£35. John.
Also 30.
30. Stevie?
I was in the club shop the other day with Molly, and she was like,
cheap.
I know, and she really wanted this, and I was like, what do you want that tap for?
You're not guessing at the price then, because you'll know how much it is.
I can't remember. £27.99.
Okay, it's 40 English pounds.
Do I win that one?
Yes.
Excellent.
Like, I'm offended. I am offended. Like, I'm so glad that Jensen's into dinosaurs and not football.
Or you can spread the cost over 5 years in the 1867 scheme. And
if we get promoted to the Premier League, it's free. Okay, so this is my last one. They don't have any, Stevie, they don't have any Sheffield Wednesday gnomes available anymore. So I just Googled rude gnome. And this is available on Amazon.
How big is it though?
I mean, garden sized. You can work out the scale from the bricks, Joe. Like, it's just gnome, isn't it?
They might be big. They might be big bricks.
They could be. They could be. I don't know. I didn't look up the size. I can tell you that it won't be delivered until after Christmas, Stevie. Useless. Apologies about that. But if you want, so this gnome, just again for those of you listening via audio medium, this is a Santa Claus bent over, flashing his arse that says "Welcome" across his bum cheeks, and he's got a little bird sat on top of his bum. There's nothing too rude about it. You can only see his bum, but it's pretty grim. So bearing in mind, the Sheffield Wednesday gnomes used to be between £30 and £35 or 20 in the sale. We can always imagine you add on an extra tenner to put a Sheffield Wednesday badge on it. But what would you say this gnome is worth to you, Joe Crann?
I'm going to go £21.
Okay. John?
Oh. £30.
Stevie?
This gnome is a visual representation of me at 5 o'clock every Saturday afternoon when I say Darren Moore's doing a decent job, really, isn't it? What did you say, John?
30.
33.
Right, okay. So what's happened here, this was a psychological experiment, actually, is that you've all taken the Sheffield Wednesday pricing structure. And actually, this gnome is £12.95, but it does arrive in January.
I'll take another win there then.
Yeah, if it was a Sheffield Wednesday gnome, I'd accept a much bigger price. But imagine that with an owl on its back. Buzzing. That would be brilliant. So yeah, that's the end of my quiz. Well done.
Lovely.
I can't see what I'm doing now. So there we
go. Hello.
Any predictions then for
God, yeah.
Fleetwood
away.
1-0 Wednesday. Get ourselves home.
Joe says 1-0. Stevie?
Come on, Stevie, it's Christmas.
2-1.
To us?
Yeah.
Vic?
2-0 to us.
I'm going with Joe. I think 1-0 Wednesday. Scrappy win just after the festive period and bring it on back home.
Yeah. I think it's got to be a win, hasn't it? I think we need that Christmas boost and all that. Yeah, cool. Right. Well, gang, that is it. That is it for the Wednesday week until Christmas, probably until the new year, because I'd imagine everyone's pretty bloody busy. So if we don't see you before 2023, we wish you all of the best. If we do see you before that, I'll be shocked because I can't pin Dan bloody Fudge down to a date that he's going to be in Sheffield. So if I can pin a group of you down, who knows? But take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And thank you again to Michael Constantine's Wealth Management, who we have mentioned numerous times throughout this podcast, thanks to Dan Fudge's editing skills. And yeah, have a great Christmas. Thank you.
The Wednesday week is sponsored by Michael Constantine Wealth Management. We bet you can't find a financial advisor closer to Hillsborough Stadium.